I thought it might be fun to have some super casual vlog style videos associated with the main videos on Three Below and Brown, partly just to talk about questions that don't really make sense to bring up in the video. Also give a chance to talk about off-topic things, kind of Q&A style. And I like the idea of such a vlog being only for that really inner core audience. And so I'm going to do this experiment where I leave them exclusively as unlisted links at the end screen. So it's, in theory for the people who watch all the way through. I know end screens probably don't work on all devices, so maybe I'll put it somewhere else. I don't know if I'll necessarily keep it up, but let me know in comments what kind of things you would enjoy just chatting about in this sort of, I don't know, like office hours type environment after. So, for example, one of the things in the main hologram video I brought up, but I didn't necessarily complete the explanation of, was how if you have a diffraction grating that follows this sinusoidal opacity pattern and not kind of binary, in theory, you don't get higher order beams. And the thought for how you could actually use the argument for holograms to prove this is to imagine taking a hologram of a plane wave that comes in at an angle. So like your object beam is one plane wave, and then your reference beam is another plane wave. It's not too hard to see that the exposure pattern looks like a sine wave. And then if you look at that formal explanation we did at the end, you have those three different components, your recopied reference wave, your copy of the object wave, copy that is sort of reversed and all of that ends up being the conjugate wave. Those would be your 0th and 1st order beams, but there's nothing else, at least in theory. It's worth pointing out that Craig Neuswanger, who's the one who helped us out with the hologram and is just incredibly skilled with many optics related things, said that he's tried this kind of thing where he's done things that in theory should be sinusoidal gratings, but he always does see higher order beams. I suspect this is one of those cases where in theory and practice align, but in practice they don't. And whether that's because you don't have an infinite grating or because nothing's a perfect sinusoid, you're always going to see some little evidence of that. So I'm not really sure. If you have added ideas on where the gap there might be between theory and practice, I'm all ears. Now, the relevance for the holograms is really just that you don't have to worry about those higher order beams. Even if they were just diminished, it might be a little bit of noise. But the zone plate, it's not going to be a perfect sine wave anyway, because it's not an even spacing between them. So it's all kind of an approximation when you're doing that zone plate argument. So the formal argument is really where I see it as showing why holography is powerful. But there is a lot of intuition there. For any future secret end screen vlogs, I'm also happy to answer just other random questions, so feel free to leave them in comments. At the very least, it seems like a fun experiment to keep up for the next few projects. And then, I don't know, if you like it, if I like it, maybe we make it a little bit of a tradition.